The airplane moved slowly on the long road in the sky. Through the small window, Haru could see white clouds like soft cotton. They looked calm and quiet, but inside Haru's heart, many feelings were moving. Fear, hope, excitement, and loneliness were all there together. Haru was leaving Japan for the first time to start a new life abroad. Haru was 24 years old. He grew up in a small town near the sea. Every morning he used to hear birds and the sound of waves. His life was simple and safe. He went to school, studied hard, and later found a job in an office. His days were quiet and regular. Many people around him liked this kind of life. But inside Haru there was always a small voice asking for something more. That voice became louder when Haru met people from other countries. Sometimes tourists came to his town. They smiled, spoke different languages, and looked at the world with bright eyes. Haru liked to listen to their stories. They talked about cities far away, different foods, different ways of thinking, and different dreams. Haru felt his heart open wider every time he listened. One night after work, Haru sat alone in his room. The light was soft, and outside the window the street was quiet. He opened his laptop and looked at pictures of foreign cities. Tall buildings, old streets, colorful markets, and people from many cultures appeared on the screen. His heart beat faster. At that moment, Haru decided to try living abroad. The decision was not easy. Haru worried about his English. He worried about money. He worried about being alone. He worried about failing. But he also knew that if he stayed, he might always wonder, what if? That question scared him more than going abroad. When Haru told his parents, they were silent for a long time. His mother looked worried. His father looked serious. After a while, his father spoke slowly. He said life is long and youth is short. He said it is better to try and fail than to never try. His mother held Haru's hands and smiled gently, even though her eyes were wet. She told him to take care of himself and remember where he came from. Now, on the airplane, Haru remembered that moment. He touched his bag, where he kept a small photo of his family. It gave him strength. The airplane began to go down, and the clouds slowly disappeared. Below, Haru saw a new land. Roads, houses, and lights spread wide like a map. This was the country where his new life would begin. When the airplane landed, Haru felt his body shake a little. People stood up, took their bags, and spoke in many languages. The sounds were loud and confusing. Haru followed the crowd. His heart beat fast. Everything felt big and unfamiliar. At the airport, signs were written in English. Haru read them slowly. He was nervous, but he also felt proud. He understood more than he expected. Step by step, he moved forward. At the immigration counter, the officer looked at his passport and asked simple questions. Haru answered carefully. His voice was quiet but clear. When the officer smiled and stamped his passport, Haru felt a warm feeling inside. He had passed the first gate of his new life. Outside the airport, the air felt different. It was cooler and drier than in Japan. Cars moved on wide roads. The sky looked larger somehow. Haru stood still for a moment, holding his suitcase. People walked past him quickly. No one knew him. No one expected anything from him. That feeling was scary but also free. Haru took a bus to the city. He sat by the window and watched the streets. Old buildings stood next to new ones. People wore different clothes. Some talked loudly, some laughed, some looked tired. Haru felt like he was watching a movie, but this was real life. His life. When he arrived at his new apartment, it was already evening. The building was old but clean. His room was small with white walls and a single window. There was a bed, a desk, and a chair. That was all. Haru put his suitcase down and sat on the bed. The room was quiet. Suddenly he felt very alone. He lay down and looked at the ceiling. His body was tired, but his mind was awake. He thought about Japan, about his parents, about his friends. He wondered what they were doing at that moment. He wondered if he made the right choice. Tears came to his eyes, but he did not let them fall. He took a deep breath and stood up. Haru opened the window. Outside, city lights shined softly. He could hear distant voices and the sound of cars. Life was moving around him. He realized that this place was not cold or empty. It was full of people, stories, and chances. He just needed time to become part of it. That night, Haru unpacked his bag slowly. He placed his clothes in the small closet. He put the photo of his family on the desk. He made a cup of tea using a small kettle he brought from Japan. The familiar smell helped him relax. Sitting on the chair holding the warm cup, Haru smiled quietly. Tomorrow his new life would truly begin. He would go to a language school. He would meet new people. He would make mistakes. He would learn. He would grow. The road ahead was long and unknown, but for the first time, Haru felt ready to walk it. As he turned off the light and lay down, Haru whispered softly to himself that this was the start of something new. The fear was still there, but hope was stronger. Outside, the city continued to breathe, and Haru fell asleep, dreaming of a life that was slowly opening before him. Morning light entered Haru's room through the small window. The city outside was already awake. Cars moved, people walked, and sounds mixed together like a song Haru did not yet understand. He sat up in bed and listened. This was not Japan. This was his new life abroad, and it had truly begun. Haru washed his face and looked at himself in the mirror. His eyes looked tired, but there was a quiet light in them. He dressed carefully and checked his bag many times. Inside were his notebook, pens, his phone, and the address of the language school written on paper. He took a deep breath before leaving the room, locking the door slowly, as if he wanted to remember this moment. The streets in the morning were busy. Haru walked carefully, watching traffic and signs. Everything felt bigger and louder than his hometown. At the bus stop, people stood in lines that were not very clear. Some talked to each other. Some listened to music. Haru stood quietly, feeling a little lost. When the bus came, he followed others and got on. Inside the bus, Haru held the strap and tried not to fall. The driver spoke quickly, and Haru did not understand everything. Still, he smiled and said thank you when he got off. Small words felt important now. Each one was like a small bridge between him and this new world. The language school building was tall and modern. Haru stood in front of it for a moment. His heart beat fast again. He remembered his first day of elementary school in Japan. The feeling was similar. Fear and hope stood side by side. Inside the school, the air smelled clean and new. Students from many countries were there. Haru heard different accents and languages. He saw faces of many colors. Some students laughed loudly. Some looked nervous just like him. At the office, a teacher greeted Haru with a warm smile. She spoke slowly and clearly. Haru understood most of her words, and when he did not, she kindly repeated them. She gave him his class schedule and showed him to his classroom. Haru entered the room and found a seat near the window. Other students sat around him. A young woman from Korea smiled at him and said hello. Haru smiled back and said hello too. His voice was small but real. Across the room, a tall man from Brazil waved at everyone. The classroom felt strange but friendly. The teacher began the lesson. She spoke in simple English. Haru listened carefully. Sometimes he understood, sometimes he did not. When the teacher asked questions, Haru's heart beat fast. He was afraid to speak. His mouth felt dry. But when his turn came, he tried. His words were slow and not perfect, but the teacher nodded and smiled. No one laughed. That gave him courage. During the break, students talked in small groups. Haru stood near the wall, holding his notebook. He wanted to join, but he did not know how. Then the Korean woman from earlier came to him again. She introduced herself as Mina. Her English was also not perfect, but she spoke with confidence. Mina asked Haru why he came to this country. Haru thought for a moment and answered honestly. He said he wanted to change, to learn, and to see a wider world. Mina nodded. She said she felt the same. That simple connection made Haru feel less alone. After school, Haru walked back slowly. His head was full of English words. He felt tired but satisfied. He had survived his first day. It was not perfect, but it was real. That evening, Haru went to a small supermarket near his apartment. Inside, he felt confused. The food was different. The labels were in English. He picked up items and put them back many times. Finally, he chose bread, milk, and some fruit. At the counter, the cashier spoke quickly. Haru did not understand, and his face became hot. He said sorry and asked her to repeat. She smiled and spoke more slowly. Haru thanked her deeply. When he left the store, he felt proud again. Even small victories felt big now. At home, Haru ate alone at his small table. The taste of the food was different from Japan, but not bad. He thought about his day. He thought about Mina, the teacher, the bus, the supermarket. Each moment was a lesson. Before sleeping, Haru studied his notes. He practiced speaking English softly to himself. Sometimes he made mistakes and laughed quietly. He realized that mistakes were not enemies. They were teachers. Days passed, and little by little, Haru began to feel more comfortable. He learned new words. He learned how to ask for help. He learned how to listen carefully. He still felt lonely at times, especially at night, but he also felt stronger. One weekend, Mina invited Haru to join a group of students for coffee. Haru was nervous, but he said yes. At the cafe, students from many countries sat together. They shared stories about their homes, families, and dreams. Haru listened more than he spoke, but that was okay. He felt included. As Haru walked home that night, the city lights looked warmer than before. The streets no longer felt completely strange. He realized that a new life abroad was not built in one day. It was built slowly through small steps, small talks, and quiet courage. Haru looked up at the sky. The stars were different from Japan, but they shined with the same gentle light. He smiled and kept walking forward, carrying both his past and his future inside his heart.